You know that feeling when you walk into your home, take a deep breath, and feel new? Well, that's what it's like to use Clorox Scentiva. Because Clorox Scentiva smells like coconut, cleans like Clorox, and feels like energy. It'll elevate any cleaning routine to not just clean, but also make every room smell like a tropical coconut getaway. Discover how Clorox Scentiva's powerful clean and refreshing scents can transform your space. Get yours in coconut or other fabulous
Visit
Continuous use in gasoline direct injection engine fuel injectors.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here today with the Bachelorette herself, Jen. Jen, welcome back. How are you?
It's good to be back. I missed you guys.
Yeah, we missed you too. We were saying right before you got here, this is your fourth time, and I'm sure we're going to probably have you at least 2 more times. That'll be 6. So you might be the most interviewed person ever.
Joey
on this
is up there, and so is Braden from Charity Season.
Yeah, we had him a lot too.
We had him so many times. He's always on the podcast. He's great, but I feel like you're going to rival them at some point, which is great because we love having you.
Well, I'll think about it. Depends how this one goes, okay?
Okay,
that's fair.
Good. Yeah. She's like, I hated it. I'm not going back.
It's like, fuck you guys. Like, come on, just stop calling me on this. Okay, what's new? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Nothing new. Nothing crazy new.
Nothing new.
Are you engaged? No. Let's kind of break down.
Wait, are you back in school?
God, no. I could not be doing everything that I'm doing right now and being in school. No. I tried to for like a weekend. I was like, I'm not doing that. So no, I'm not in school.
Yeah, no, that would be just so incredibly overwhelming. Do you know when you'll go back?
I'm going to go back in January. So I'm just going to ride the wave out for the rest of the year and then, go back to like really, really normal life in January, which I'm excited for.
Nice.
That'll be perfect.
All right, we're going to break down. We want to break down this week's episode because it was wild and we need to talk about your ex coming back. But before we do, let's kind of get into just like you being the Bachelorette, just night one, you're riding up in the limo. What's going on in your head?
In my head, I was kind of like, this is nothing different than flirting with a bunch of men at the bar, except they're all coming to you out of a limo instead of like you coming to them at the bar and having them buy you a drink. So I don't know. I was like kind of nervous, but not really. I feel like at that point I was like kind of all used to like the cameras and everything. So I was very much like trying to be myself as much as possible. And I really just had fun with it.
Did you feel the difference though from being in the limo pulling up as the lead opposed to being in the limo pulling up as a contestant?
Yeah, I didn't black out this time around. Like I was so comfortable in my own skin and I wasn't nervous. And I felt like this time around, I felt really in control of things. Like I just felt like I knew what was going to happen or like I knew what I was going to say. Like, I don't know, like I felt just more comfortable in my own skin than the other way around where you come into this world that you've never been in before and you're just kind of like a little sheep in a farm.
That makes sense. Looking back now, what were the night one entrances that really stood out to you?
Hakeem with the balloons, for sure.
Yeah, we really didn't talk about him much on night one, but every time I think of night one, I picture you and then I picture Hakeem with the balloons.
Me too. Because the balloons reminded me of the movie Up, and I thought it was so cute. Like, I really liked it.
That's a sad movie, though.
I know. I've never watched it because that's what everyone says.
Yeah, but it's also like kind of beautiful.
It's romantic.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's a good movie.
When Jeremy pulled up with his nice car and his big penis, whatever, that was a big moment as well. And then what else was there? Oh, Jonathan with the gown and the mask and
yeah,
that was.
Were there any guys from their limo entrances that you knew you were keeping and or knew you were not keeping just based off of those?
Yes. Well, I didn't like definitively say no in my head, but in my head I was like, I'll give him another conversation, but if it's still like just not it, then he's going home kind of thing. I think I wasn't like a strict yes or no out of the limo. I really think the conversations later in the night played a big role in like my decisions.
Was there anyone that you felt more nervous around?
On night one, I don't know if I was maybe like Sam M, I think.
Yeah, that checks out, at least from the beginning, the first few episodes.
I feel like, I don't know if you're like this, but I am. I'm never really nervous about a first flirty convo with a hottie, but I get nervous once I realize I might like them, and that's when the nerves set in.
Exactly. Like, I don't think I was super nervous with him on night one, but as the episode's gone, like I definitely got more nervous with him because then I was like, oh, I like him.
Mhm.
But on night one, yeah, I mean, I was like really comfortable with a lot of them.
Nice. How did you feel about not being in the mansion?
It felt good. I mean, obviously there's like a sense of nostalgia to like the Bachelor Mansion, and
Mhm.
I was kind of looking forward to being back there and all the memories coming back. But I also felt like a sense of kind of refreshing, like renewal situation going on, because I was like, I am kind of breaking the mold in a lot of ways, just being the first Asian American Bachelorette, and so I think having a new mansion was good vibes. All around. I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could disclose this. Did you know that you were traveling right away? Did you know you were going to Australia?
So I didn't exactly know, sort of. Like Jesse told me on the first night, and I was so excited. But I had heard kind of rumors beforehand from previous girls. I don't know how they knew, but rumors were kind of going around. So I didn't know for sure.
So it wasn't like it was something that you were prepped with from the show.
No.
Oh, nice. That makes it more fun, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun when Jesse told me on the first night, because I was like, oh, okay, we're actually going. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was such a quick turnaround. Were you happy that you were kicking off your season with travel? I mean, it's been so cool seeing you guys travel to all these new places.
Honestly, I love to travel. Also, Australia is a sick location. I've always wanted to go. It's been on my bucket list. So I was stoked. And I think it changes the show a little bit, because usually you travel a little bit later and then things get a little bit more serious. But I think because we traveled so early, these relationships grew a lot faster.
What was your thoughts on the Vegemite and the kangaroo testes?
I forgot about that. The kangaroo balls.
That the kangaroo testicles were actual kangaroo testicles. I like to think in my head that I ate a kangaroo meatball, because like, no way kangaroo testicles are actually perfectly that circular. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
They were really tiny too.
Yeah, I would imagine kangaroo testicles are a bit bigger, but
I would think kangaroos have some big, heavy balls.
I think so too.
yes. Well, oh my gosh, in Australia, they sell those kangaroo testicle beer openers. It's like a big thing in Australia. I bought like 10 of them for my friends and family. And apparently they're like made out of real kangaroo hide or kangaroo balls. I don't know. I haven't done my research on it, but it smells.
How similar is New Zealand and Australia?
Pretty similar, I'd say, in the sense that it's a very laid back vibe. But when we were in Australia, we were in Melbourne, so it was very city. And then when we were in Auckland, we had a lot more dates that were in the countryside, kind of more scenic dates. So we were out of the city a little bit more, which I love.
So I think this happens in episode. I'm pretty sure this happens in episode 2, where we see you're having a conversation with Devin, and Thomas pulls Devin in instead of you, and like they get into an argument. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was it was really early on in the season, but like I feel like we really see you after that conversation kind of like step up, and you're like, okay, this is my fucking show. Like, I'm the lead. Like, what are you kind of doing? What was going through your head when that went down?
Yeah, that was crazy. We've never seen that before.
I was definitely a little annoyed. I was just really confused. So it's funny now watching it back, seeing all the build up to that moment, like seeing what was going on in the house. But in that moment, like I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know there was drama or anything. So was just sitting with Devin, and Thomas pulls him aside instead of just talking to me, which I thought was weird. And immediately they're like arguing in the corner, and I'm like, I'm right here, I can hear you, so I'm gonna go listen. Like, I want to know what's going on. I'm not just gonna sit here. And yeah, I don't know, I thought it was like a weird way to kind of go about things. Personally, I think like the root of that issue was time and excuse me, being respectful of everybody's time and getting enough time with me. But then it felt like that counteracted the actual issue, because then I was just sitting there alone instead of Thomas talking to me.
Watching all this back for the first time, what are you most shocked about?
In that episode?
Not that
No,
episode.
anything so far,
Just the
like-
front four. Like what? Like the guys bickering, like all the drama. Like you weren't privy to any of that.
Yeah, definitely the guys' drama. I had no idea. Obviously, I think it was the second episode, when Aaron and Devin were kind of pulling each other from
Right.
me during that group date cocktail party, I was like, okay, maybe there's something going on there, but I had no idea the extent of the bickering between the boys.
If Aaron didn't have to leave for work, did you see that relationship going anywhere?
To be honest, no. I wanted to maybe see where things were going, but in my head at that point, I had some really strong connections with the other guys, so I wasn't necessarily like heartbroken that Aaron was leaving. I was honestly just genuinely happy for him to get this opportunity that he's been wanting for so long.
How pissed were you when he told you some of the guys are here for the wrong reasons and then didn't tell you who?
Immediately so pissed. Okay, here's my thing with that, is that if you're gonna say that you're gonna leave, that's great. I support you in all of your dreams. But then you tell me that there are people here not here for the right reasons, but then you won't tell me exactly who. And then you tell me that you trust my decision making and that I'll make the right decision. But then it's like, if you trust me, don't tell me that then. Just show it play out, and then that's that. Like, I feel like him dropping that bomb was a little selfish in a way, because if you're gonna drop the bomb, like, drop all of the bomb. Tell me who it is. Like, stick with your gut with it, But he did it, and that is what aggravated me. Not necessarily that I would have trusted who he would have said, because at that point I trusted myself a lot more than this guy that I had just known for a couple of weeks. But it was just an annoying situation to have to deal with.
When he said that, were there any guys that, like, and you don't have to say the names if you don't want to, or you can, were there any guys that like jumped to the front of your mind of like, I wonder if it's this person, or I thought, I've already had those doubts about this person?
Well, yeah, I immediately thought that Aaron was talking about Devin, and I wanted him to just say it. Like, say
right. Because at this point that they already have beef.
Exactly. Like, I wasn't blind. I knew that they had beef from the ice cream situation. So I wasn't dumb, but I was like, if you're going to do it, like, man up and do it.
Everybody wants to eat well, but if we're being honest, for one reason or another, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes eating well is just inconvenient, but it doesn't have to be, because at your local options waiting for you
on one site and enjoy added perks. That's way better than being stuck at home with a pushy Tom's 100%
thing where you guys had the little piano moment.
ice cream thing. I want to touch on that a little bit because
summer sale now. Save up to 40% site-wide plus premium doorbusters. Up to 40% site-wide for a limited time at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Speaking of the ice cream thing, I want to touch on that a little bit because you were someone on Joey's season who I thought was a little more forward on group dates. Like we kind of see you pull Joey to the side and like give him a kiss.
You did the piano thing where you guys had the little piano moment in front of the group.
So would you consider Devin pulling you for ice cream comparable to how you were on group dates, or was it just way out of left field?
No, I would pretty much agree that I kind of went into these group dates on the other side with the mindset of like, you got to make your own little moments no matter what that is. And so for Devin to pull me for ice cream, I thought it was kind of in the same mindset of like, I'm just going to make a moment where I can and when I can. And I thought that it showed really great initiative.
Yeah, I liked it, but it seemed like watching it back, were you shocked that all the guys were like, what the fuck?
I was very shocked to see that. Yeah, I had no idea they were so shooken up by it. Yeah, they hit it really well. So
did you have any inclination though? Because we did see that a lot of them were roasting Devin on that group date.
I did see that, but I still at that point didn't know that was a result of the ice cream. Gotcha. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. Everyone's roasting Devin.
Yeah, like if anything, I would think in your situation, you'd probably think like he's kind of like the most outgoing in the house and probably friends with everyone, and that's why they're roasting him.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking at that moment. I don't think I had anything made up yet because I just didn't know enough.
Also, we saw a lot of the comments about Devin, but I'm sure there was a lot of other comments made too about other guys in the roasts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, it was literally, it was everyone was just ripping on Devin.
It actually kind of was a lot of ripping on Devin.
Okay, so let's cut to current episode 4. We see Sam M gets Sam N and Sam
We've
M.
been having a really hard time with the M's versus the N's for the Sams.
Me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, don't mess up the letters at the roast ceremony.
Yeah, you're probably like, I've never enunciated better in my life.
So you choose Sam M for your one-on-one date. And it just starts off really rough. Like you don't want to do it, which I would hate. I personally would hate that.
Joe and I aren't hates people either.
Like I'd have just been like, no, like I'm not doing it. Like fuck off. But we kind of see Sam like makes the decision for you. So let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm. I was pissed. I was really, really pissed. I don't know. I think I wanted someone to be there for me in that moment because as soon as I landed in New Zealand, I saw the freaking tower and I said, I already jumped out of the plane. I'm not jumping off of the needle. Okay. I'm not doing it.
Did you know that was a thing that people did?
No, but funny enough, like our driver just like started talking about it. So in that moment, I knew that was a thing then, but I was like, nah, that won't be me. I'm not doing that. So when we got up there and we were having drinks, I was like, oh God, there's just no way this is actually going to happen. So I was already scared.
Yeah.
And for the way
well, you've been on the show before, like as a contestant, so you know how it works. You're probably sitting at this table being like, there is a very good chance someone tries to get me to jump off this building. Like, we're not here for no reason.
Exactly. You're never just there for the view. There's something.
Yeah, no. You're like, oh, this date is not just a 360 dinner reservation.
No, absolutely not. So in the back of my head, I kind of already knew. And I was upset that he wasn't hearing me out. I was like, you can't just make a decision for me. Like, you have to at least ask me if I want to do it. He didn't even do that. So in that moment, I was very, very upset.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any like flirtatiousness? Is that a word?
Sure.
Is it a word? It's
Go
a word
for
right
it.
now. Was there any like? Was it more like? Was he trying to do it in a more of a flirty way or a fun way?
Yeah, like,
or
what was
it
his energy about the whole thing?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, it was more so he really is an adrenaline junkie. So he knew he wanted to do it. And I think for him, as someone who doesn't really have a fear of heights or a fear of anything, it's like, you're going to be fine at the end of the day. You know, like it's just a fear, but you'll get over it once you do it. So I think in the moment, he wasn't necessarily thinking of how scared somebody could be. But obviously things turned around in the middle of the date. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe it was a little bit flirty, but also a little bit like, I just know you're going to be fine. So don't be scared.
Yeah, it felt like the communication wasn't aligned. Like he wasn't getting what your problem with it was, and you weren't understanding how he could be so insensitive.
Yeah. And I think that was like the upsetting part of it too, was like I was trying to communicate how scared I was and it wasn't received.
Yeah, and you're probably thinking, I'm already scared. I already don't want to do this. And now I'm at the very least going to have to go walk out there with someone that I'm not feeling very supported by in this moment.
Yeah. That was definitely the kicker at that moment too. It was like, if I'm going to have to do it, I would have loved to have done it with somebody who was supportive in the beginning. But yeah.
What was worse, walking around the building or just jumping?
Walking around was so much, because you could see through the grates and they were like wide gaps in between the grates that you were walking. It was horrendous. And it was windy. And there were so many wires. I was like, which one's actually hooked up to me? Like, which one do I hold on to if I fall? It was like, I hated every second of that and will never do that. That is top, like the most scary thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, I said the same. That reminded me of myself because the first and only time I went skydiving, I did it. I was like, okay, never doing that again. Like I don't need to do this shit ever again.
And we were saying the walking, I feel like is so much worse because you're like lingering in a place that you're so scared. Whereas at least jumping, you're like, okay, I know I'm going to be scared, but then the minute I jump off, I'd be like, just get me to the ground as fast as possible. Like, get me off this platform and to the ground, because being on the platform is the worst part. We have in Toronto, like the CN Tower has a skywalk, which is very, very similar. You can't jump off the CN Tower, but you can like hang off of it the same way that Sam M was, except it's not like you're fully straight leg, like leaning backwards. I have friends and cousins that have done it, and it just looks like a horrible time.
Oh no, I'm done with any sky towers, any space needles, whatever. I'm done. No more.
Yeah.
My arch nemesis. I can't do it.
So do you think the turning point in that date was when you eventually got emotional about the situation? Do you think it kind of took that for him to really see how scared you were?
Yeah, I definitely think the turning point was when I really broke down and just started sobbing. I think he realized, oh, she's not making this up. She's like actually terrified and is crying. So yeah, I think the tears definitely helped him come back to earth a little bit.
And then how was he moving forward, or how was the date moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, after we jumped, I felt great. I forgot all about it. I said, I'm never thinking about this again. And it was great from then on.
Okay, so the rugby date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we need to talk about within the rugby date. Now, you watched this. Have you watched this back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess Sam N. Now let's go to Sam N. So what were your thoughts with how Sam N was acting during the rugby game?
During the rugby game, I thought that he was aggressive, but I think he used to play football in high school. So I thought that was just kind of like his like competitiveness just coming out, but I didn't think that there was malicious intent to it. Like I wasn't hearing exactly everything that he was saying, like, in his
guys
after that he like was like trying to be super crazy about it. I just thought he was just having fun and just showing his competitive side, but I thought it was like friendly competition. It didn't, like
I was saying earlier, it kind of his energy felt like he gave himself a pep talk and then chugged a Celsius and ran on the field. Like it just felt really elevated compared to what we've seen from him the past few weeks. Did it feel different to you? Did it feel like there was a shift in him at all?
It felt like a shift, and honestly, I was surprised and I liked it because I think like having so many layers to a person and seeing different sides of him is fun. So I like seeing a different side of him in that moment.
Who else stood out during the rugby portion of the date?
Jonathan was a really good runner. He took a lot of tackles. John M was the MVP of the game. He was.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him, but he was good during the game.
I know, he was amazing. I was very, very impressed, and I think his personality really came out that day, and I was excited about that.
We saw Marcus hurt himself in the game. How bad was the injury, or how bad did you think it might have been at the time?
Yeah, I think it was worse than he was letting on. During the game, I kind of saw him take a blow, and I didn't really understand how bad it was until we were kind of back in the locker room and drinking champagne or whatever, and he was being really, really quiet. And I was like, oh, like he's actually like really hurt, but he's putting on a brave face, which is why I checked up on him after at the cocktail party.
So as a lead, you make your first early cut, chop, you get rid of Sam. And the
chop. Oh my god!
Yeah, well, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Oh, I should do that at the rose ceremonies.
Chop! You guys are done. No rose. Get out.
Before like going into that conversation, did you know you were going to do that, or were you just like, this guy is 10 steps ahead of where I am, and I'm never going to get there? Did you come to that realization mid conversation?
Yeah, it was kind of mid-conversation when he came back and asked for a kiss. I was like reevaluating where I was at with him in comparison to a lot of the other guys in the room. And with him, I think I realized like I loved talking to him and I loved kind of helping him along through whatever he was going through that day. And so I loved our little chats, but I don't think that I saw it as anything more. So when he asked for that kiss and I immediately kind of knew like I didn't really want to, I was like, I can't string him along anymore. And so I ultimately had to make that hard decision and send him home.
Were you surprised by what you saw with his behavior and conflict amongst the guys? Like at the cocktail party while you were talking to other people?
Yeah, I mean, again, I have no idea what goes on in the house, so it's crazy watching it back to see how much conflict there is and how much I didn't know about it, which in a way is good. I'm glad no one wasted their time telling me about whatever was going on, but yeah, kind of crazy.
Everybody wants to eat well. Wellness goals and dietary preferences.
And when everything feels effortless, as America's
home. That's why I
go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Going into your Devin date, were you aware a little bit that Devin and Sam M really didn't like each other and seemed to be a really great date, and it seemed like you guys really started connecting at that point?
Yeah, I think the date set us up for success in a way that, the date wasn't just we were doing an activity or anything. Like we were also connecting in a lot of like family values and just speaking about tradition and like where we come from and what makes us us. So I think the day portion was great for us to be able to connect on that and get vulnerable so early on that it was also easy to then later in the night get really vulnerable about other things that make us us and connect on those as well. So I think the day overall was really, really good for us.
I always think, like, for example, like Sam N watching episode 4, I always think it's going to bring those people so much closure on the fact that you and him, for us as viewers, it's so clear you're not a fit, and for him to be able to see how far along your relationship with, because like we see him go home and then your relationship with Devin, right? And it's just 2 different stages. Like Devin is so many light years ahead in terms of you guys' connection, and even like Sam M and some of the other guys, for Sam M to be like, wow, like I hadn't even kissed her yet, and this is kind of where her other connections were. I always just think like there's closure in that,
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And that's why I'm like, I would never want to string anybody along, because then if they watch that back and they're like, oh, well, why did she even keep me along if like she had all these other great connections? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best part of dating multiple guys and falling for multiple guys that are so different from each other?
The best part.
And or worst part, I guess.
I will say, when I date in real life, I have tunnel vision. I don't think about anybody else. I don't think about the other possibilities. I stay on one track and that's that. So for me to be able to explore and to constantly be open to all these different relationships, it really helped me kind of put into perspective and put into and have my priorities straight on what I wanted out of a partner at the end of it all, So I was able to really compare and contrast each relationship and be like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Can this person provide me this or no? And it's like, if this person is providing me this and this one isn't, then the answer is easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're dating in the real life and someone's not providing you with something, at least for me, I still have tunnel vision. I'm like, well, I really like all these other qualities, so I'm going to try to make it work.
And it's easy to be like, but what if no one gives me that? What if I go out looking and I never find that in anyone? And, maybe I should just stick with the good things that I get here, because like, I don't want to go out and, not find what I'm looking for. But you're able to kind of see like someone will give it all to you. And it's just a matter of finding the right person.
You got options.
Exactly. I like my options. I didn't know that I would be an options girl, but I like
Okay, we won't take up too much more of your time. Last segment, we do need to touch on Matthew. Matthew. So, watching it back, I'm kind of like, I think this was more of a fling, and I felt like Jen didn't really know he felt this strongly about her. But that's just that's what I took from it, and I could be 100% wrong. So yeah, you want to just kind of break down the situation and what you were feeling?
Walk us through your history with this guy before we chat about him showing up in New Zealand.
Sure. Yeah. So we had dated when I lived in Boston about 3 years ago. We met on Hinge and we dated for like 3 months ish. And
exclusively, like he was your boyfriend, you were only dating him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was just me and him, and we were boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And then things just like didn't really work out. He was really young. I was really young, like a classic. So, and then I think like a few months had passed, and then we kind of got back together for a little bit. And then I decided this was just like not it. And then I think a few more months had passed after that second like reincarnation, and I was so happy with that because he is someone who's like such a good person, and I kind of came to terms with the fact that like we're at different like places in our lives. So we had stayed in touch as friends for like a couple years, like here and there, like nothing crazy. And then after Joey's season, we did talk on the phone every now and then about like TikTok stuff and all this stuff. And we really, somebody could talk to about, stuff on TikTok and whatever else was going on in my life. And I've known him for so long, and he knows my family. I know his family. So like we have this history, and I found comfort in that. And so I was really, really surprised when he came and basically confessed his love. Yeah.
Okay. So what were the reasons? Because you said you kind of tried, you didn't work out, you tried, it didn't work out. Was there like one big reason that it wasn't working out? Or was it just like you guys were arguing, you weren't connecting?
We dated 3 years ago. So we were just so young. And so like he never prioritized me, and I was still learning so much about myself. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to be in a good relationship. Like I was just like, I was kind of a mess too. So,
right.
It just didn't work out.
Right. Like at the time, because you guys were so young, you didn't have the skills to kind of nourish a healthy relationship together, and it kind of just fizzled out.
Exactly.
All right. So it's 3 years into the future. You're now the Bachelorette dating multiple men, and Matthew shows up in New Zealand, and you see him. What is going through your head?
Funny enough, my very, very initial reaction was shocked. I was like, what the heck is he doing here? But then I was also like, oh my God, like a friendly face. Like, and I hugged him, and in my head, I was kind of like, oh, is he like here to give me advice or something? And then it kind of clicked. I was like, no way he's here to give me advice. That would be really weird too. So I kind of slowly was like, okay, I kind of get why you're here. But then I was also like, why are you here? So I was very shocked. We were in New Zealand. Like if we were in, I don't know, Kansas, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. But we were in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would also be jarred. Yeah. Do you, so he mentions, you guys are chatting, and he's like, I came right from like Colombia, I think he said. And then you're like, you ditched the weddings. He was like, I didn't go to the weddings. Were you, I think I know the answers. I just want to clarify for people listening. Were you supposed to go to those weddings with him?
So, there was a free trip to Colombia on the table at some point, and I had said, Matthew's a really good friend of mine. He needs a little date. He wants to give me a free trip to Colombia. Why not? So I was supposed to go to these weddings, yes.
Okay.
As a friend.
Totally.
You're
his plus one.
Okay, because he says, he tells you that he loves you. And you're like, well, you could have told me this a long time ago.
Yeah.
So then when he drops that bomb, and then you kind of put together like, oh, wow, this is why he's here.
What goes through your mind?
Yeah, because you were like, you could have told me this years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I was at that point kind of questioning his intentions. I was like, why are you here? You did have a chance to tell me, like, at any other point in time before right now. Why is it right now? So I think I was really just trying to get into his mindset a little bit more and kind of really understand why he took this risk to fly all the way around the world to New Zealand. Yeah, I was just so shocked.
When you say question his intentions, does he strike? Is he the type of guy that you think would just like want to be on the show?
I don't think so. But you know, at the end of the day, like you can never really know what people's true intentions are sometimes. Like the reality of it is like we are on a TV show that sometimes people go on to for other reasons than love. So I mean, you got to ask the questions, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I would be thinking. I mean, I like if it was an ex that I used to date and came back on the show and it's like all of a sudden like, hey, I'm in love with you. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing here? And then I would be thinking a million different options.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because like if you were just on like a vacation in New Zealand with like some friends and a guy that you were newly dating and you were like maybe getting serious with, it's like, would he be flying his ass out to New Zealand to declare his love? That's probably why you're like, it feels weird.
But then again, it's not like after the vacation she's going to be engaged.
No,
After
100%.
this-
I can totally sympathize with why like the pressure's on, right? He's thinking, oh my God, there's a good chance in a month she's engaged and I'm never gonna have the chance to say this. But it's just so funny how this environment affects people outside of it so drastically as well. Like Matthew has nothing to do with this experience when you're on it, and then all of a sudden he's in New Zealand professing his love.
Yeah, that was the weirdest part, was like I'm kind of in this new world now and it's my world, and then like someone from my past comes into this world and it's like a sense of familiarity almost. So it was like a sense of comfort having somebody there that kind of knew me. I was like, whoa.
I think we've seen that in past shows. Like I would argue like watching Blake Moynes go on Katie Thurston season, like there's comfort in that, even of like you've been here before, like you know this world as well, and like having been on the show, you are very isolated and you're dating all these guys, but you're still getting to know them. So like seeing a familiar face, I can totally sympathize with. Even if you left to go film the show on friendship terms with this guy, there is that excitement about seeing him of like, I know you and I feel comfortable with you.
Absolutely.
All right, Jen, before we let you leave, we're going to play a quick game. You ready? Rapid fire.
Let's do it.
All right. Of your guys,
Oh, God.
who's the funniest?
Pete Davidson.
Devin.
Who's the shyest?
Jahan.
Who made you the most nervous?
Sam M.
Who dressed the best?
Grant.
Who matched your intelligence level the best? I wouldn't know how to answer that
Jen's
either.
like, no one. They're all stupid.
I'm gonna stick with that. Nobody, because nobody can that to me.
Of your journey overall, what piece of advice ended up being the most useful?
It was a piece of advice that one of my best friends gave me in a letter that she wrote me before I left the show, and I was reading it every now and then, and it was fun.
Don't get back with Matthew.
No, it was she wrote something like she is married, so she was giving me advice, and she's like, you want to find someone who is going to think you're the funniest girl in the room no matter what. And to me, what that really meant was find someone who intentionally is always going to make you feel celebrated no matter what. Like even if I make the dumbest joke ever, give me a pity laugh, you know what I mean? And so for me, it goes beyond even a joke, and it's more just partner who's thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. Oh,
What
I
was
like
your
that.
favorite group date that we've seen so far?
Group date. The rugby date was really fun.
You were funny on that date. You had me laughing because Jesse is like such a professional, because that's what he does for a living, is like he's a sports announcer. Is that the term? Sportscaster?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sportscaster, yeah.
And
Analysis.
he would like do his whole like professional spiel, and then at the end he'd be like, yay.
I was in awe just like watching him do his thing, and then I'd be like, ditto, yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, what he said.
What was your favorite one-on-one activity thus far?
Activity. The helicopter ride over the 12 Apostles was absolutely like stunning. I've never seen anything like it before. That was really incredible.
What episode were you most excited to watch back?
Episode 4.
What moment thus far has been the most fun to watch back?
The stripping date.
That was fun.
That was a fun date.
And to end this off, and also I have one more question after this that I want to ask. And to end this off, if you could describe your season in one word, what would it be?
Adventurous.
You know what's so funny is every guy's come on here and described it as like toxic, tumultuous, like chaotic. Like,
why are you telling her that?
What? It's all what?
That's a toxic,
not toxic, but like it's all been like really like intense, like ferocious. Yeah, like this intense verbiage being used. But like you wouldn't know because it's all the male drama that you're not seeing. So when Joe asked that, I'm like, it's gonna be so funny to hear her answer because it's gonna be so different than like all the cast.
Like romantic, and they're all like insane chaos.
They're like detrimental. Like, what do you think of the phrase? Is this something that you came up with? What do they keep saying?
Let the main thing.
Let the main thing be the main thing.
I didn't know that was a thing until I watched the show back. And
okay.
The main thing is the main thing.
Once you finally you wrap the season, you're done filming.
Yeah.
How fast do you then go? Do you go look at all these guys' Instagrams or their social media accounts and like, who was this guy? Like, who did I cut week 2?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Absolutely, I stalked every single one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, last question: how would you tease the rest of your season?
I would say that there are a couple of turning points for me as a person and as someone who's dating somebody or people. Like I had a turning point in terms of relationships and realizing what I want and what I deserve.
Amazing. I'm excited. Can't wait.
Jen, thank you so much for taking the time. We know how busy you are. We're really enjoying watching your season. It's very toxic. And thank you for coming on Happy Hour.
Thanks for having me. I love chatting with you guys.
I'm excited to have you back when we can do a full reflection on this season because we're only on episode 4 and so much has happened and I just know there's so much more to come. But if you're listening to Bachelor Happy Hour, thank you for listening. And we will have more recaps and exclusive interviews coming out every single week. So don't forget to subscribe.
The